This is a review of a cell phone. A cell phone released in the past year by a very popular brand. Can you guess what model it is? You weren't expecting this, were you? That's right, this review is all about the Nokia 2255 4G, possibly the cheapest brand new feature phone available in North America. I was looking for a brand new feature phone out of curiosity. It may even be surprising to many of you that brand new feature phones with a T9 keypad like this are still being made in the smartphone age. But they still are. How comparable is it to 2000's cell phones? And more importantly, how usable is it in 2021? My criteria for finding the perfect feature phone wasn't just limited to a low price. I had to find a phone which did not come with KaiOS, because KaiOS includes way too many features found in smartphones. It also had to be compatible with 4G networks. And lastly, it had to be from a well-known and trusted brand. The Nokia 2255 4G features a 2.4-inch QVGA display and a rear VGA camera. The phone is powered by Unisoc USM9117 CPU and has access to a whopping 128MB of RAM, which is enough to run Nokia's proprietary S30 Plus operating system, not to be confused with S30 or S40. The 1150 mAh battery is more than enough to supply power to this tiny device for a long time. And of course, as it is said in its name, it supports 4G networks, making it future-proof, at least compared to other Nokia models, which are 2G only. Speaking of connectivity, some models of the 225 can support up to 2 SIM cards. And of course, it supports microSD cards, which allows you to expand the 64MB internal storage to up to 32GB. It even has a headphone jack, and can you believe it? It comes with a charger! Take notes, Apple! The total cost for a brand new device is $50. It wasn't easy to find a website which allowed shipping to Canada, but with a little bit of research I managed to find one. At the last moment, I decided to get a used one for around $35 instead of paying the full price. It may have a few scratches, but I bet it'll be perfectly functional. But what about the experience? What's it like to use this phone? In order to find out, one must live with it, bring it everywhere, use it as your main cell phone. This is what I did for a few weeks. Alright, it's been a while. Time to report on my phone experience. Let's start with the softer features. So, how was it? Well, the phone did good in some areas and performed poorly in others. Let's talk about the downsides first. The video player is a great addition to this phone. It allows you to bring your favorite videos on the go. I found that for the best compatibility, you have to encode your videos in an MP4 format with the resolution of the phone screen, which is, in landscape, 320 by 240. But there's a big issue when it comes to video playback. The video and audio get desynchronized rather often, which really ruins the video viewing experience. However, I'm sure that this is a software bug and can be fixed with a simple system update. If you're typing anything and get an incoming SMS or MMS message, it will mess up your typing, often by assuming that whatever letter you have highlighted, even if you weren't finished selecting your desired letter, is the one you wanted. This isn't a big problem unless if you are getting spammed by the other party. Another downside is the lack of third-party app support. Officially, there is no mention about installing new apps in the user manual of the phone. Some websites may claim that they have apps for your Nokia, but I would stay away from them as I wouldn't want to risk getting some malware going on some shady websites. And no, there is no Java support, so I unfortunately will not be able to play Sonic the Hedgehog Java Edition. You can lock your device with a password, which is good. However, it doesn't seem to do anything when you plug it into a computer. Anyone can read the contents of the phone with or without password, which is a little concerning. But then again, most people would store data on the microSD card, which can easily be read by itself. So this isn't really much of a problem at the end of the day.
We got so let's get moved. Check to the wall, yo, here we go. I know roll 生まれたばっかりの旅人慣れない足取りもまた愛嬌決めるとこだけだシット So many people it is wrong 解ける抽象とかもないわけじゃないけどつまんないところは外してこの筋だけは通し生きてる That's all.
The camera is not good, but if you must take a quick photo of something, it can get the job done. It also captures video, which looks, well, obviously shot on a mobile. Honestly, cameras haven't really changed a whole lot in the realm of feature phones. It's almost as if they still use the same mobile phone camera technology from 15 years ago. Before forming an opinion, you have to remember that the retail price is $50 US. The phone isn't perfect, but the low price tag really makes up for it. I really like the support for microSD cards. This is a really cool feature which is disappearing in newer phones. Although this phone only supports up to 32GB of type SDHC, it is still plenty to store music, videos, and pictures. Another thing I really like is this micro USB port. Now, many of you may be confused as most people consider USB-C being the new standard for handheld devices and micro USB being almost dead. But hear me out. I think that adding a USB-C port will increase the price tag on this phone, and also it just isn't necessary. It doesn't need super fast file transfer speeds because you wouldn't transfer huge files into it. It also doesn't need super fast charging because the phone doesn't have such a massive battery. Also, on the topic of file transfers and charging, this single micro USB port is an improvement from previous Nokia phones. On my two other Nokia models, the micro USB port is used exclusively for file transfers, and a proprietary port is used for charging. If this isn't bad enough, specific drivers are required to do something as simple as file transfers. You might as well take out the microSD card and read it on your computer directly. Thankfully, the new 2254G does not require any drivers, and you can charge at the same time as transferring files too, on the same cable. Many of you may remember SMS messages being different on mobile phones of the day compared to today's smartphones. It kinda looked like email. You had an inbox with all the incoming SMS messages which you could reply to. Nowadays, most people are used to a layout similar to instant messages because that is the way messages are shown on most phones nowadays. When I first got my phone, I thought that the email layout would be what I'd get, because that's what I experienced with the LG B470 I used for some time in 2019. But to my surprise, the 2254G uses the instant messenger layout. It took me very little time to get used to this, and it gets simpler to understand conversations this way, especially when all of your contacts are using smartphones. The audio player is okay to use if you aren't a big audiophile or anything like that. It gets the job done. It played all the files I threw at it, including MP3s, M4As, AACs, WAVs, and even MIDI files, although it was glitchy at times. The one thing I did not like was the fact that it would not show the album art even when there's a big area where the album art could have been. Another thing I've noticed is that the phone would not show metadata of any audio file unless if it is an MP3, which is a bit odd. But all in all, I don't mind these issues. If I were to use this device as an MP3 player, I wouldn't constantly be staring at it for album arts and metadata because my phone would be in my pocket. The FM radio is a really cool feature. The difference between this FM receiver and the FM receivers you would find on modern smartphones is that this phone does not require you to plug in headphones to act as antennas. That's right, it will use the built-in antenna for FM radio, so listening to a radio station with a friend is now possible. You can still plug in your headphones for a better reception if required. Many people may point out that it must be a pain to go back to texting on a numeric keypad. However, this phone, like many other phones with similar keypads, use a technology called predictive text. Instead of pressing the same button many times for a certain character, you can click on each button where your desired letter is located only once. It's hard to explain, so here's a demonstration instead. Finally, I would like to point out I like how it looks. The people behind this phone managed to make it look modern while still being what some people may consider a dated, old-fashioned form factor. So that was my review of the Nokia 2254G. There's still one question to answer, however. Who is this phone made for, exactly? For the average person in the developed world, It makes no sense that such a phone exists. Why buy this when you can get a super cheap and affordable smartphone for a few hundreds of dollars more? Well, this brings me to the first type of person this phone is made for. People with really tight budgets. Not everyone can afford the fanciest new smartphone, and to many, having the ability to make phone calls and communicate through SMS is enough. Knowing that this is perhaps the cheapest brand new unlocked phone you can get in North America from a trusted brand, the 225 4G is a great option when it comes to basic mobile communications. It is also future-proof with its 4G network support, knowing that 2G is on its last legs and 3G won't last forever either in this part of the world. Another type of consumer who may be interested in this phone are people trying to cut their smartphone usage. Smartphone usage for the purpose of social media on the go has constantly been rising over the years, but this isn't all good. One of the downsides of social media usage is the possibility of addiction. Many people may realize that they have been wasting too much time on their phones, and some of them who decide to take action will downgrade from a smartphone to a simpler, basic feature phone with little internet connectivity. This phone may be an option for anyone attempting to ditch their smartphone. And don't be afraid of that Facebook icon. There is no Facebook app. It's just an internet shortcut which opens the web browser to facebook.com. Finally, the third type of consumer. People who want to play around with the phone. This phone is dirt cheap, and if you have the income and are interested in mobile phones, why not try it out? It can also be used as a backup phone if your main phone ever breaks down or ran out of battery. Personally, I was interested in how feature phones evolved during the smartphone age. A phone like this is surprisingly usable as a main phone for someone like me, who has very little interest in social media and rarely uses mobile data.